All right, so why the narcissistic spectrum? What do we mean? Well, when most people talk about narcissism, they're thinking about a Gaston type of character. This is from uh, the Beauty and the Beast, for example. He's always talking about himself and admiring himself, and it's a toxic masculine archetype. And it's not to say that that does not exist. It's to say that that's not the only type. It's much more prevalent than the Gaston types itself. It's much more on a spectrum, and it's split 50-50 between men and women. So it goes way beyond what the modern psychology is speculating. And it's just much more sophisticated and complicated in how the dynamic works, much more multivariate. And this is why we call it the narcissistic spectrum. The model I draw from is you look at the range of vampire from um, Interview with a Vampire, just as a narrative anchor. So they're all vampires, right? But some of them men, some of them women, some of them old, some of them young, and they express it in different ways, right? So you have the Tom Cruise and Antonio Banderas ultra high level narcissists. And this comes from H.G. Tudor's work, excellent breakdown of the spectrum of narcissism. Yeah, the mid range, and this would be like the Brad Pitt type of characters. Even though he's aware he's a vampire, he's uh, he's regretful of it, right? He's hesitant, he's reluctant. So fundamentally paradoxical, and the assumption is that 80% of narcissists do not know who they are and what they are. So the mid rangers think that they're good people, they're empathetic, they're super empaths, but they still have the same parasitic behavior as the top level and bottom level. The lesser narcissists are the male Gaston levels. So he is, he just thinks he is who he is. He doesn't really care at all that he is what he is. And you'll notice like this is in the theater troupe type. They don't care. So there's not a lot of sophistication and complexity. These people resort to violence to enforce control in their relationship. It can result in rape. I mean, at the most extreme, or it could just be like my own father was a lesser narcissist. They're just overt about it. So, and then the mid range would use like a play or a victim mentality, but still have the same aims. And so you have this full spectrum. And that's what it's important to understand when addressing this issue. Especially like therapists, they need to understand that this is not a strictly masculine expression, and even if it is expressing itself in a masculine, it'll vary in many different ways. The mid-range and ultra are very resistant to therapy. They won't even actually go to therapy. The ultra won't, and the lesser won't. The mid-range may, but they manipulate the therapist. If the ultra is forced to go to the therapy, they'll manipulate the therapist. So it is a hard thing to pin down, and what you really want to focus on is um, not letting children get into this pattern that it comes entrenched, like has a certain momentum and motivation. So how to protect children from it, how to protect the victims of narcissism or the receivers of narcissism, we say survivors, how these people evolve, and how these people are how they recover and become more resilient in the face of narcissism and being a narcissistic magnet. But that's the spectrum. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.